I felt his eyes on me the second I smiled at the grad student asking about my psych textbook. And when I turned around, the man at the end of the bar was staring at me like I'd just committed a crime worth dying for. Not that I knew who he was yet. As far as I was concerned, he was just the regular in the corner, the one who'd claimed the last stool at my bar every Tuesday and Friday night for the past 3 months. He never ordered more than one drink, never spoke to anyone, just sat there in his expensive black coat, watching me work with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I'd learned not to look at him directly. Looking made it worse, made my pulse kick up, made my hands unsteady when I poured. Tonight, I'd forgotten he was there. Seriously, though, the grad student, Kyle maybe, leaned against the bar with an easy grin. Behavioral psych, and you're working here. That's like being a surgeon and working at a walk-in clinic. I laughed. A real one, the kind I didn't give customers. Says the guy getting a master's in philosophy. How's that job market? Touché. He raised his beer. At least I'm self-aware about my poor life choices. The laugh bubbled up again, and for just a second, I forgot about the midterm I hadn't studied for, the rent due in 6 days, the landlord's text with 3 question marks. Then I felt it, that crawling awareness. I turned, still smiling, and met his eyes. He wasn't just looking, he was dissecting me. His jaw was tight, his expression carved from stone, but his eyes burned with something I couldn't name. He lifted 2 fingers. Come here. My stomach dropped. Maris? Kyle's voice sounded far away. You good? Yeah, just give me a second. I walked toward the end of the bar like I was walking toward the edge of a cliff. The closer I got, the more details I couldn't ignore. The sharp cut of his jaw, the scar along his cheekbone, the way his dark hair fell just slightly over his forehead. He was beautiful, the way a blade was beautiful. He didn't smile when I stopped in front of him. Can I get you another drink? My bartender voice, professional. No. His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of quiet that made you lean in. I want you to tell me his name. I blinked. What? The one who just made you laugh. That's none of your business. Maris. The way he said my name made my breath catch, like he'd been holding it in his mouth for months. How do you know? Maris Holt, 23, junior at U Chicago, behavioral psych major. You take your breaks at 11:43. You rub your left wrist when someone's about to start a fight. He leaned forward. You smile at customers, but it never reaches your eyes, except just now, when you looked at him. Ice slid down my spine. You've been watching me. Yes. No excuse, no apology. That's insane. Probably. He tilted his head, but not inaccurate. I don't know what you want. Don't smile at other men like that again, especially while I'm here. The words landed like a physical touch, possessive, absolute. Excuse me, he stood. I hadn't realized how tall he was, tall enough that I had to tilt my head back. He moved around the bar until only worn wood separated us. You heard me, Maris. You don't get to tell me. He reached across and cupped my jaw. His palm was warm, his grip firm, but not painful. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, and every thought scattered. I just did, he said quietly. Then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. His mouth claimed mine like he had every right to it. For one terrible, traitorous second, I kissed him back, felt myself lean into him, felt my lips part. Then reality crashed in. I jerked away, stumbling into the speed rail. Bottles clinked. Behind me, Sarah gasped. The entire bar had gone silent. He pulled back slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. Something dark and satisfied flickered across his face. Good night, Maris. He dropped $500 bills on the bar and walked out like he hadn't just upended my world. The door closed behind him. Bar noise filtered back. Murmurs, whispers, uncomfortable laughs. Holy shit, Sarah appeared at my elbow. Are you okay? Do you know that guy? Yeah, it's fine. It was absolutely not fine. My hands were shaking. My lips still tingled. And in the far corner booth, 2 men I'd never seen before were on their phones, staring directly at me with expressions that made my skin crawl. They hadn't been there when my shift started. I would have noticed. One of them met my eyes and smiled. It wasn't friendly. Maris, Sarah touched my arm. Should I tell Brian? No, it's fine, really. I forced a smile. Can you cover the end for a minute? I need napkins from the back. I escaped to the stockroom and pressed my back against the shelves, trying to breathe. You take your breaks at 11:43. You rub your left wrist when someone's about to start a fight. He'd been learning me for months, and I'd barely noticed beyond that vague unease. What did he want? And those two men? I checked my phone. 2:47 a.m. 13 minutes until closing. I just needed 13 more minutes. I didn't make it. The alley behind Hannigan's smelled like old grease and regret. I'd taken out the trash, said goodbye to Sarah, and stepped into the sodium light glow with my keys in hand and pepper spray clipped to my bag. 3 men were waiting. Not the 2 from the bar. These were bigger. They moved with casual confidence. Maris Holt? The one in the middle smiled with a forgettable face. We'd like you to come with us. I stepped back. I don't think so. It wasn't really a question. He moved forward. The other 2 fanned out. My hand found the pepper spray. Touch me, and I scream. Scream all you want, sweetheart. No one's coming. He was wrong. A sharp, muffled crack split the alley. All 3 men froze. Actually, a new voice said from the shadows. Several people are coming, and they're significantly better armed than you are. 2 men stepped into the light, moving like soldiers, guns drawn with casual competence. The speaker was tall, dark-haired, 40-ish. His suit cost more than my rent. You're trespassing. Salvati knows the rules. The middleman's jaw tightened. Tell Calderon this isn't over. I'll pass that along. Now move. They disappeared fast. I stood there shaking, pepper spray clutched uselessly. The tall man holstered his weapon. Ms. Holt, my name is Victor. Mr. Calderon would like to speak with you. I don't want to speak with him. I understand. Unfortunately, you don't have a choice. He gestured toward a black SUV idling at the alley entrance. Please? I looked at the pepper spray, at Victor's holstered gun, at the alley where 3 men had just tried to grab me. If I get in that car, I said quietly, am I going to die? Victor's expression didn't change. Not tonight. I got in the car. The SUV had that new leather smell and tinted windows so dark I couldn't see out. Victor sat up front. Another guard drove. I was in the back, alone, watching Chicago slide by in shadows and streetlights. No one spoke. We drove for maybe 15 minutes. South, I thought, toward the loop. The car pulled into an underground garage beneath a high-rise I didn't recognize. Private entrance. Security cameras everywhere. Victor opened my door. This way. Where are we? Mr. Calderon's office. We took a private elevator. It rose smoothly, silently. The doors opened into a penthouse that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture, art that probably cost more than my degree. And him. He stood by the windows with his back to us, hands in his pockets, looking out at Chicago like he owned it. Maybe he did. Thank you, Victor. His voice was the same, quiet, controlled. Leave us. Sir. Leave us. Victor hesitated, then nodded and stepped back into the elevator. The doors closed. We were alone. He turned slowly. In the bar, he'd been intense. Here, in his space, he was something else entirely. Dangerous, powerful. The kind of man who didn't ask for things because he didn't have to. Sit, he said, gesturing to the leather couch. I stayed standing. Who were those men? Associates of a competitor. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. He moved toward me, not fast but deliberate. Sit down, Maris. Why am I here? Because 3 men just tried to kidnap you in an alley, and if Victor hadn't been there, you'd be in a very different location having a very different conversation. He stopped a few feet away. So, sit. Down. I sat. Not because he told me to, but because my legs were shaking. He settled into the chair across from me, studying me like I was a puzzle he was solving piece by piece. Tell me what you know about me, he said. Nothing. You're just some guy who comes to my bar. Try again, I swallowed. You've been coming for 3 months, always Tuesdays. And Fridays. Always the same seat. You watch me. You leave big tips. Tonight you kissed me and told me not to smile at other men. My voice hardened. And apparently people are trying to kidnap me because of you. Better, he leaned back. My name is Ryan Calderoni. I run certain operations in Chicago. Nightlife, security, logistics. Some of it's clean, some of it isn't. His eyes never left mine. I have enemies. One of them is a man named Marco Salvati. He saw what happened at the bar tonight. Now he thinks you're leverage. We're not, that was just... Doesn't matter what it was. Matters what it looked like. He said it so calmly, like he was explaining traffic patterns. You're marked now. Salvati will come for you again. Probably tonight, definitely tomorrow. My chest tightened. Then I'll go to the police. The police can't protect you from Salvati. Half of them are on his payroll anyway. So what? I'm just supposed to, what? Hide? Run? No. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You're supposed to let me protect you. I don't even know you. You know enough. His voice dropped lower. You know I've been watching you for 3 months because I couldn't stop. You know I kissed you in front of 47 people because seeing you smile at someone else made me want to break his jaw. You know that if anyone tries to hurt you, I will end them. He paused. That's more than most people know. My heart was hammering. This is insane. Yes, I can't just... I have school. I have rent. I have a life. You have a target on your back. He said it like a fact. Everything else is negotiable. I stood up, pacing toward the windows because I needed to move, needed to think. The city stretched out below, lights and buildings and normal people living normal lives. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. I want you safe. Why? Silence. When I turned, he was watching me with that same intensity from the bar, the one that made me feel like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because, he said finally, I've spent 3 months watching you smile through exhaustion, diffuse fights with humor, study during breaks like your life depends on it. I've watched you be brilliant and brave and completely wasted on that bar. He stood. And the idea of Salvati putting his hands on you makes me want to burn this city down. I couldn't breathe. That's not, you can't just... I can. I am. He moved closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to accept my protection. Guards, secure transport, safe housing. You'll continue your classes. I'll make sure of it. Your rent will be handled. Your scholarship issues will disappear. In exchange for what? Nothing you're not willing to give. That's not an answer. His mouth curved slightly, almost a smile. You're sharp. I like that. He pulled out his phone, tapped something, set it on the table between us. Here are your options. 1. You walk out of here, go home, and hope Salvati's people don't grab you before sunrise. 2. You accept my protection, my resources, and all the complications that come with it. I stared at the phone, at him, at the city outside that suddenly felt very small. If I say yes, I said slowly, I need conditions. His eyebrow lifted. Conditions. I don't drop out of school. I keep attending classes with whatever security you think is necessary. My roommate? She needs to be protected too, or at least watched. She can't get caught in this. I met his eyes. And you tell me the truth. About who you are, what kind of war I'm in, and why you've really been watching me. He studied me for a long moment. Anything else? If I want out, I get out. No. I gestured vaguely. No threatening my family or keeping me prisoner or whatever men like you do when people try to leave. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Maris. I'm keeping you alive. He stepped closer. But yes, if you want out, you get out. Though I think you'll find that once you're in my world, leaving is more complicated than you think. Is that a threat? It's a warning. He extended his hand. Do we have a deal? I looked at his hand, at his face, at the man who'd upended my life in the space of 4 hours. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap, that accepting meant giving up control I'd never get back. But the men in the alley were real. The fear in Victor's voice when he'd said Salvati's name was real. And standing here, looking at Ryan Calderoni, I knew with absolute certainty that walking away meant dying. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm, strong, possessive. "Smart choice," he murmured. "I hope so," I said. I really, really hoped so. The safe house wasn't what I expected. I'd pictured something out of a movie. Dingy warehouse, boarded windows, maybe a mattress on the floor. Instead, Victor drove me to a renovated brownstone in Lincoln Park with actual landscaping and a door that didn't look like it had been kicked in recently. "This is temporary," Victor said as he unlocked the front door, "until we assess the full scope of Salvati's network." How long is temporary? However long Mr. Calderon decides. Of course. Inside, the place was furnished like a high-end Airbnb. Clean lines, neutral colors, a kitchen that actually had food in it. My duffel bag from my apartment was already sitting on the couch. I stared at it. "How?" "We retrieved your essentials while you were with Mr. Calderon." Victor gestured toward the stairs. 2 bedrooms upstairs. Security system is active. Don't open the door for anyone except me or Mr. Calderon. There's a phone on the counter. It's secure. Your number's already programmed in." "We?" I echoed. "You've been on our protection schedule for weeks," Victor said. "Last night just moved your status from observe to secure. My classes start at 10 tomorrow according to your schedule. Someone will pick you up at 9:15. He moved toward the door. "Get some sleep, Ms. Holt." "Wait." I grabbed my own arms, suddenly cold. "My roommate, Sophie. She needs to know I'm okay. She received a text from your phone 20 minutes ago saying you were staying with a friend." Victor's expression didn't change. "She's also under surveillance now, discreetly." "You went through my phone?" Mr. Calderon was thorough. He opened the door. "Good night." The lock clicked behind him with a finality that made my stomach turn. I was alone in a stranger's house, with guards I couldn't see, in a life I hadn't chosen. I pulled out my actual phone, the one that was apparently already compromised, and saw the text he'd mentioned. It sounded exactly like something I'd write, which somehow made it worse. My hands were still shaking. I made it to the bathroom before I threw up. The driver who picked me up at 9:15 introduced himself as Marcus. He was younger than Victor, maybe late 20s, with an easy smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Behavioral psych, right?" he said as we merged into traffic. "That's cool. You gonna be one of those profilers?" "Maybe, or HR consulting, people analytics." I watched Chicago slide past the tinted windows. "Why?" "Just making conversation." He caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "Relax, Miss Holt. I'm just your driver, not your warden." "Are you armed?" His smile widened slightly. "Very. Great." Campus felt surreal. Students hurrying between buildings with coffee and backpacks, complaining about assignments and hangovers. Normal problems. Normal lives. I'd left that world sometime around 2:47 a.m. in an alley behind Hannigan's. Marcus parked in a loading zone like he owned it. "I'll be right here when your class ends. Don't leave the building without me." "What if I have to?" "Then text me first." He handed me the secure phone Victor had mentioned. "It's programmed. Just hit 1. I took the phone and got out, hyper-aware of everyone around me. Were any of them watching? Were Salvati's people here? My behavioral analysis seminar was in the psychology building, 3rd floor. I made it to my seat just as Professor Monroe started talking about micro-expressions and deception cues. The irony wasn't lost on me. I tried to focus on the lecture, but my mind kept circling back to last night, to Ryan's hand on my jaw, to the way he'd said my name like he owned it, to the men in the alley and the casual violence in Victor's voice when he'd said, "Move." "Ms. Holt," I snapped back to the present. Professor Monroe was looking at me expectantly. "Sorry, could you repeat the question?" "I asked for your analysis of the video we just watched, the subject's credibility markers." I hadn't seen the video, hadn't even noticed it playing. Think, focus. This was my actual life, the one I'd worked for. "Could you play it again?" Someone behind me snickered. Professor Monroe's expression tightened with disappointment. "See me after class, please." My face burned. I'd never, not once in 3 years, had a professor call me out like that. The rest of the lecture was torture. "Maris." Professor Monroe closed her office door behind me. "Are you all right? This isn't like you." I know, I'm sorry, I didn't sleep well and you missed the midterm. My stomach dropped. What? The midterm? You never showed up. She folded her arms. I've already submitted a 0, but if you have documentation for an emergency, I couldn't breathe. The midterm. I'd completely forgotten. Between the bar shift and everything that happened after, can I make it up? You know the policy. No makeups without documented medical or family emergencies within 24 hours. Please, I can explain. Then explain. What could I say? Sorry, Professor. I was busy getting kidnapped by the Mafia. I can't, I said quietly. But I'm asking you to trust me that it was an emergency. Professor Monroe studied me for a long moment. Maris, you're one of my best students. But if something's going on, if you're in trouble, I can't help you unless you tell me what it is. I'm not in trouble. The lie tasted bitter. I need one more chance, she sighed. I'll give you until Friday to submit documentation. If you can't, the 0 stands. And Maris, whatever's happening, please get help if you need it. I nodded and escaped before she could see me cry. Marcus was waiting by the car, scanning the quad like he expected an attack at any moment. How was class? He asked. Great, I lied. Just perfect. Ryan's office, the real one, not the penthouse, was in a building that officially housed a private security consulting firm. The lobby had marble floors and abstract art, and a receptionist who smiled at Marcus like she knew exactly what kind of consulting happened here. Mr. Calderon is expecting you, she said. 10th floor. I'd texted him from the car, demanded a meeting. He'd responded with an address and a time. The elevator opened into a different world than last night's penthouse. This was all business. Glass walls, dark wood, people in expensive suits moving with purpose. Several of them looked at me with undisguised curiosity. Victor met me at the reception desk. Ms. Holt, this way. He led me through a corridor of offices to a corner suite with views of the lake. Ryan stood at a conference table covered in papers and tablets, talking on the phone in what sounded like Italian. He glanced up when we entered, held up one finger, and continued the conversation. I waited, anger building with each second. He finally ended the call and turned to me. Maris, I wasn't expecting you until this evening. You said I could keep going to school. You are going to school. I missed a midterm yesterday. Because of you. My voice shook. My professor gave me a 0. That 0 might cost me my scholarship, which means I can't afford tuition, which means I drop out. I stepped closer. So tell me again how I'm keeping my life. His expression didn't change. What class? What? What class was the midterm for? Behavioral analysis with Professor Monroe. Why does that? Victor. Ryan didn't look away from me. Contact Professor Monroe at UChicago Psychology Department. Ms. Holt experienced a documented family emergency yesterday that prevented her from attending the examination. We'll need a makeup scheduled. Sir, handle it. Victor left without another word. I stared at Ryan. You can't just, that's not how it works. It is now. He moved around the table toward me. You think I'd bring you into my world and then let it destroy the things you care about? That's not protection, Maris. That's sabotage. I didn't sit in that bar for 3 months just to watch you lose the one thing you were killing yourself to keep, he said. Your scholarship isn't optional. It's part of why I noticed you. You're going to what? Bribe my professor? I'm going to ensure she receives appropriate documentation from a family attorney about a crisis that required your immediate attention. His mouth curved slightly. No one's being bribed, just informed. That's lying. That's solving a problem. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back. You want brutal honesty? Fine. Yesterday, 3 of Salvati's men tried to grab you. If they'd succeeded, you'd be in a basement somewhere being used as leverage to force me into a position I can't accept. Instead, you're here, safe, and yes, dealing with academic consequences. His voice dropped. I can fix your grade. I can't fix you if Salvati breaks you. The words hit like cold water. I don't want to be someone you have to fix, I said quietly. Then help me keep you safe. He tilted his head slightly. You're smart, Maris. Observant. I saw that at the bar, the way you read people before trouble started. That's useful. Useful how? I'm having dinner tonight with a business associate. someone I don't entirely trust. He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo, middle-aged man, expensive suit, politician's smile. Thomas Brennan, runs shipping logistics, claims to be neutral in the Salvati situation. I need to know if he's lying. I blinked. You want me to, what, profile him? I want you to watch him. Tell me what you see. His eyes locked on mine. You said you wanted conditions. You wanted honesty about what kind of war you're in. This is how you get that, by being part of it. My pulse kicked up. I'm not trained for this. I'm a student, not a... You spotted a setup at the bar last Tuesday. He said it casually, like stating a fact. Table 6, the 3 guys who said they were there for a bachelor party. You flagged them to your manager 20 minutes before they started the fight that was supposed to distract everyone, while someone broke into the office safe. I'd forgotten about that. It had just been instinct. Something off about their body language, the way they'd position themselves. How do you know about that? I asked. Because I had people there watching you. No apology. You were right. They weren't bachelor party. They were Salvati's, testing your bar's security. He moved closer. So yes, Maris, you're trained enough. The question is whether you're willing. I should have said no. Should have demanded he take me back to the safe house and leave me alone. Instead, I heard myself say, "What time is dinner?" His smile was slow, satisfied. 7. Victor will bring you something appropriate to wear. I can dress myself. Not for this, you can't. He returned to his papers like the conversation was over. This is a 5-star restaurant where people pay attention. You'll need to look like you belong with me. The possessiveness in that sentence made my stomach flip. And if I see something, I asked. If I think he's lying, then you tell me and I act accordingly. He glanced up. Welcome to the Alliance, Maris. Try not to get killed. The dress Victor delivered was black, simple, and probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. It fit perfectly, which meant Ryan had known my size. There was no way they'd guess this in a few hours. This had been measured, considered, planned. Like he'd been waiting for a reason to dress me up and put me at his side. I tried not to think about what else he knew. Marcus drove me back to Ryan's building at 6:45. This time, the receptionist directed me to the penthouse, the same one from last night, but transformed. The lights were dimmed, music played softly, and Ryan stood by the windows in a dark suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. He turned when I entered, and something flickered across his face before he controlled it. You look perfect, he said. I look expensive. I tugged at the dress. This isn't me. Tonight it is. He crossed to me, pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a necklace, delicate gold chain, small diamond pendant. May I? I should have said no. I turned around. His fingers were warm against my neck as he fastened the clasp. They lingered a second too long before he stepped back. Brennan is careful, he said, all business again. He won't say anything incriminating directly. Watch his hands, his breathing, how he reacts when I mention certain topics. If he's working with Salvati, he'll have tells. What topics? Shipping routes, timing of deliveries, access to port security. He handed me a glass of wine I hadn't seen him pour. And he'll ask about you, who you are, where we met, how serious we are. What do I say? The truth. His eyes met mine. We met at your bar. I couldn't stop watching you. Now, you're mine. The words sent heat through me that I absolutely could not afford to feel. I'm not. Tonight you are. He said it gently, but with absolute certainty. Brennan needs to believe you're important to me. That's the only way this works. Why? Because people who are important get protected. His jaw tightened. And people who threaten what's mine get destroyed. Brennan needs to understand both. The restaurant was the kind of place where they didn't list prices on the menu. We were shown to a private room overlooking the city, just Ryan and me at a table set for 4. Brennan's always late, Ryan murmured. It's a power play. He thinks it makes him look busy. What does it actually make him look like? His mouth curved. Insecure. The door opened. Thomas Brennan entered with a woman half his age on his arm. Blonde, beautiful, bored. The kind of date that was more accessory than person. Ryan. Brennan's smile was all teeth. Sorry to keep you waiting. Traffic was murder. Thomas. Ryan stood, shook his hand. This is Maris. Brennan's eyes slid over me with assessment that made my skin crawl. Pleasure. This is Amber. Amber smiled vaguely and said nothing. We sat. Wine was poured. Small talk circled. The restaurant, the weather, some mutual acquaintances' recent legal troubles. I watched. Brennan's left hand kept touching his watch. Not checking it, just touching it, thumb rubbing over the face. When Ryan mentioned shipping schedules, Brennan's breath caught for just a fraction of a second before he smiled and said everything was running smoothly. Business is good then? Ryan asked casually. Very good. Demand is up. Labor costs are manageable. Brennan cut his steak with precise movements. Though port security has been interesting lately, more scrutiny than usual. Interesting how? Just more questions, more inspections. His thumb found the watch again. Nothing that affects operations, just inconvenient timing. There. His voice had changed on timing, just slightly higher, slightly faster. Inconvenient for whom? Ryan's tone was mild, conversational. For everyone. Brennan laughed. It sounded forced. You know how it is. Regulators get nervous. Everyone suffers. Ryan nodded, sipped his wine. Under the table, his hand found my knee. A brief squeeze that I understood meant pay attention. And you, Maris, Brennan turned to me with that politician's smile. Ryan tells me you're studying psychology. Fascinating field. What made you choose it? People lie, I said simply. I wanted to understand why. His smile froze for just a heartbeat. And do you? Understand why? Usually, I met his eyes. Fear mostly. People lie when they're afraid of consequences. Wise observation. He returned to his steak. Though sometimes people lie simply because the truth is inconvenient. That's still fear, I said. Just fear of inconvenience. Ryan's hand squeezed my knee again, approval this time. The conversation drifted to safer topics. Amber excused herself to the restroom and didn't come back for 20 minutes. Brennan's watch touching increased every time Ryan mentioned logistics or timing. When dinner ended, Brennan stood and extended his hand. Always a pleasure, Ryan. We should do this. Again. Absolutely. Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Give my regards to your family. Something flashed across Brennan's face. Too fast to name, but it was there. They left. Ryan waited until the door closed before turning to me. Well? He's lying, I was certain. About the timing, about port security, maybe about everything. His breathing changed. He touched his watch constantly. And when you mentioned his family at the end, I paused. He was afraid. What else? He wasn't surprised you brought me. He already knew about me. I met Ryan's eyes. Which means someone told him. Someone who knew we'd be here tonight. Ryan's expression went dark and dangerous. You're sure? I'm sure. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Victor, conference room, 20 minutes. Full sweep of tonight's guest list and everyone who knew about the dinner. He ended the call and looked at me with something that might have been pride or possession or both. You're good at this, he said quietly. I'm good at reading people. My heart was racing. That doesn't mean I want to. I know. He stood, extended his hand. But you're in it now, Maris. Might as well be good at it. I took his hand because I didn't know what else to do. The conference room in Ryan's building was all glass and steel and serious faces. Victor was there, along with 3 other men I didn't recognize. They all looked at me like I was an interesting problem they hadn't figured out yet. Brennan's been compromised, Ryan said, without preamble. Either willingly or through pressure. We need to know which. How do you know? One of the men asked. Because Maris read him, and she's better at it than any of you. Ryan gestured for me to sit. Tell them. I repeated what I'd noticed, the tells, the breathing changes, the fear when Ryan mentioned family. That could be anything, Victor said carefully. Brennan's always nervous around you, sir. Not like this. Ryan's voice was flat. Someone got to him. Either Salvati applied pressure or Brennan made a deal. Either way, he's feeding information. What kind of information? I asked. Everyone looked at me. About shipments, Ryan said. Timing, routes, security gaps. Information that would let Salvati intercept product or set up ambushes. His eyes locked on mine. Information that would let him know when and where to find people he wants to hurt. Me. He meant me. So what do we do? I asked quietly. We feed Brennan false information, one of the men said. See where it goes. Or we cut him off entirely, Victor countered. Eliminate the leak. Eliminate how? I asked. Silence. Ryan leaned forward. We make him more afraid of me than he is of Salvati. Show him what happens to people who betray me. His voice was soft, deadly. But we don't kill him. His family needs him, and I don't create widows unnecessarily. Relief flooded through me, not killing. He'd meant what he said last night. We have a facility in Gary, Victor said. Quiet, isolated. We could have a conversation there. Do it. Ryan stood. But not yet. First, I want to know exactly what he told Salvati and when. Maris. No, I stood too. I'm not going to watch you torture someone. I wasn't going to ask you to. His expression softened slightly. I was going to ask if you noticed anything about Amber, Brennan's date. I blinked. I thought back. She was gone for 20 minutes. She said she was going to the restroom, but 20 minutes is too long, Ryan finished. She was making a call, or meeting someone. You think she's working with Salvati? I think she's working for whoever pays best. He glanced at Victor. Find her. Bring her in for a conversation, politely. Sir. Victor nodded and left, taking two of the men with him. The remaining one, older, gray-haired, with eyes that had seen too much, studied me with open curiosity. She's good, he said to Ryan. I know. Dangerous, though. Having her here, Salvati will push harder. Let him push. Ryan's voice went cold. He pushes, I push back harder. The man left without another word. We were alone. You should go back to the safe house, Ryan said. Get some sleep. I can't sleep. I rubbed my arms, suddenly cold despite the warm room. I just helped you identify someone who's going to get hurt because of me. Not because of you, because of his choices. Ryan moved closer. Brennan knew the risk when he started playing both sides. What happens now is on him. That's not how it feels. I know. He reached out, hesitated, then brushed a strand of hair from my face. His fingers lingered. You did well tonight. Better than well. You saw things I would have missed. I couldn't finish the sentence. Wasn't what? Wasn't a criminal. Wasn't part of his world. Both felt like lies now. You're tired. His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing my cheekbone the same way he'd done at the bar. Let Marcus take you home. This isn't home. Not yet. His eyes held mine. But it could be. The weight of that sentence made it hard to breathe. I should go, I whispered. He let his hand drop. Tomorrow, I want you here at noon. We'll have more information about Brennan and Amber by then. I'll need your read on it. Ryan. This is the alliance, Maris. We're in it together now. His voice softened. But if you want out, tell me now. I meant what I said last night. You can walk away. Could I? Really? I thought about Salvati, about the men in the alley, about my scholarship and Professor Monroe's disappointed face, and the way Ryan had fixed it with a phone call. I thought about how, for the first time in 3 years, someone was asking me what I saw, what I thought, what I knew, and then actually listening. I'll be here at noon, I said. His smile was slow, dangerous, satisfied. Good girl, a word sent heat through me that I tried desperately to ignore as I left. The call came at 3:47 a.m. I jolted, awake in the unfamiliar bedroom, heart already racing before I fully understood why. The secure phone was vibrating on the nightstand, screen glowing in the dark. One new message from Ryan. Stay inside. Lock the bedroom door. Victor is 2 minutes out. My hands shook as I typed back, "What's happening?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Salvati knows where you are. I was out of bed and shoving furniture against the door before my brain fully caught up. Dresser, chair, anything heavy. Downstairs, I heard the front door's alarm system beep. Someone entering the code. Ms. Holt, Victor's voice, tight with urgency. It's me. We need to move now. I shoved the dresser back, opened the door. Victor stood in the hallway with two other guards, all of them armed, all of them scanning angles like they expected gunfire. 60 seconds, Victor said. Grab only what you can carry in one hand. How did they? Questions later. Move. I grabbed my backpack, phone, wallet, the textbook I'd been pretending to study. Victor's hand closed around my arm and pulled me toward the stairs. We moved fast, professional. Out the back door, through a gate I hadn't known existed, into an alley where a different SUV was already running. Get in the back. Stay low. I dove in. Victor slammed the door and the car was moving before I could ask anything else. Through the tinted windows, I saw the brownstone I'd spent one night in recede into darkness. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere Brennan didn't know about. Victor's voice was cold. That bastard gave up 3 locations before we'd even started asking questions. My stomach turned. What did you do to him? What needed to be done? He met my eyes in the rearview mirror. He rolled on you to save himself, Ms. Holt. Gave Salvati everything, your schedule, your locations, your routines. If he'd had your class schedule memorized, he would have sold that too. I pressed back against the seat, trying to process. So the dinner was him marking you for Salvati, confirming you were valuable. Victor's jaw tightened. Mr. Calderon is handling him now. Handling. The word carried weight I didn't want to examine. We drove for 40 minutes, leaving the city behind for suburbs I didn't recognize. The new safe house was a modern apartment in a high-rise with security that looked military-grade. Victor walked me through the protocols, cameras, keypads, panic buttons hidden in 3 rooms. Mr. Calderon will be here by 7, he said. Don't open the door for anyone else. Then I was alone again. I sat on the couch in the dark and tried not to think about Brennan's watch touching, his nervous smile, the way he'd asked about my psychology studies while planning to sell me out. My phone buzzed. Not the secure one, my actual phone. Sophie. Hey, are you okay? Haven't seen you in days, and you're being weird. Sophie. Also, some guy came by yesterday asking about you. Said he was from student services, but seemed off. My blood went cold. I grabbed the secure phone and called Ryan directly. He answered on the first ring. Maris. Someone approached my roommate, claiming to be from student services. My voice was shaking. When? Silence. Then, what's her address? I gave it to him. Stay where you are. His voice was hard, controlled. I'm sending people now. Ryan, if they hurt her, they won't, he paused. I'll be there in 30 minutes. We need to talk. He hung up. I sat in the dark apartment and watched the city lights and tried not to imagine Sophie answering her door to men who smiled with Brennan's same false charm. Ryan arrived in 23 minutes. He looked like he hadn't slept. Shirt sleeves rolled up, tie gone, jaw tight with exhaustion or fury or both. He locked the door behind him with careful precision before turning to face me. Sophie's fine, he said immediately. My people got there first. She's at a hotel under guard now, and she thinks it's because of a gas leak in her building. Relief made my knees weak. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He moved to the windows, closed the blinds with sharp, angry movements. We have a problem. Just one. His mouth twitched despite everything. A bigger one. Salvati's moving faster than expected. He hit 2 of my clubs tonight, trashed a warehouse, and sent messages to 3 of my suppliers, warning them off working with me. He turned to face me. He's trying to isolate me, make me weak. Because of me. Because he thinks you're leverage. Ryan crossed to where I sat, lowered himself onto the couch beside me, close enough that I felt the heat of him. He's wrong, but we need to change tactics. What kind of tactics? Visible ones. His eyes met mine. I need Salvati to believe you're not just important to me. You're essential, untouchable, the kind of person whose harm would make me burn his entire world down. Isn't that what he already thinks? He thinks you're a weakness he can exploit? I need him to think you're a strength he can't touch. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, which means no more hiding, no more safe houses and rotations. You stay with me, publicly, visibly, at my apartment, my offices, my clubs. My heart kicked up. That's not protection. That's making me a bigger target. It's making you my target. There's a difference. His voice dropped lower. Salvati operates on fear and calculation. Right now, he calculates he can take you and I'll negotiate. If he sees you integrated into my world, protected by my full resources, valued by my people, clearly mine in every way that matters, he calculates differently. You're talking about using me as bait. I'm talking about making you so clearly mine that touching you becomes suicide. He reached out, caught my hand. But only if you're willing. This only works if you commit fully. No halfway, no hesitation. I stared at our joined hands. What does fully committed look like? You move into my penthouse. You come to my meetings, my events, my world. People see us together and they understand. She's not just protected. She's his. He paused. And when Salvati makes his move, because he will, you help me end him. Help you how? The same way you helped with Brennan. You watch. You read. You tell me what you see. His thumb brushed over my knuckles. You're better at reading people than half my organization, Maris. That's not weakness. That's an advantage I'm not too proud to use. I should have been angry, should have felt used. Instead, I felt something dangerously close to wanted. And after, I asked quietly, after Salvati is handled? After, you decide what happens next. His eyes held mine. You finish school, I'll make sure of it. You choose whether to stay in my world or build something separate. But either way, you're safe. You can't promise that. I can. I will. He leaned closer. I've spent 3 months watching you waste your potential pouring drinks and diffusing drunks. I'm not letting Salvati or anyone else break you before you get the chance to become what you're supposed to be. And what's that? I don't know yet. His voice softened. But I'm curious to find out. The words settled between us, heavy with promise and threat both. If I do this, I said slowly, I need something from you. Name it. The truth. About everything. About why you really started watching me. About what happened to make you like this. About, I hesitated. About what you did to Brennan. His expression shuddered. Maris, you want me fully committed? Then I need to know exactly what I'm committing to. I pulled my hand from his. No more half-truths. No more I'll explain later. If I'm going to stand beside you publicly, I need to know who you really are. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he stood and moved to the window. His back was rigid, shoulders tight. 4 years ago, he said quietly, I was engaged. Her name was Sophia. She worked in my legitimate businesses, event planning, venue management. She knew what I really did, but she wasn't part of it. I kept her separate on purpose. I stayed silent, letting him talk. There was a territorial dispute with a crew out of Milwaukee. Nothing major, posturing mostly. I thought I had it handled. His hand pressed flat against the glass. I was wrong. They grabbed Sophia outside one of my clubs, called me with demands. I had 6 hours to decide. What did you do? I called their bluff. Told them killing her would start a war they'd lose. His voice went flat. They killed her anyway, just to prove they could. Oh God. I found everyone involved, he continued. Every single person who touched that operation, who knew about it, who helped plan it. I ended them. Not quickly. He turned to face me. And then I made a rule. Never again. Never give them something I care about. Never let anyone get close enough to be used against me. Until me, I whispered. Until you. He crossed back to me, lowered himself to his knees in front of the couch so we were eye level. I broke my own rule the day I first saw you, and I've been trying to figure out if I'm protecting you or destroying you ever since. I reached out, touched his jaw. He froze under my hand like I'd surprised him. What did you do to Brennan? I asked. Broke 3 fingers and his nose. Held him underwater until he told me everything Salvati wanted to know. Then I blacklisted him from every shipping contract in the Midwest and made sure his wife found out about Amber. His eyes were dark, honest. He'll recover physically, financially and socially. He's finished. But he's alive. Because you don't kill. Because I don't kill, he confirmed. Not anymore. Not directly. I learned that lesson the hard way. Violence breeds more violence, and bodies bring attention I don't need. So I ruin people instead. It's cleaner. I should have been horrified. Part of me was. But another part, the part that had spent 3 years watching drunk men grope waitresses and get away with it, the part that knew how easily people got away with cruelty, that part understood. When I was 14, I heard myself say, "My mom's boyfriend used to steal money from my backpack. Lunch money, birthday cash, whatever I had." I told her. She didn't believe me. I dropped my hand from his face. So I started hiding it better, and I put marked bills in obvious places, tracking ink from a chemistry set. When he stole those, I had proof. What happened? She still didn't believe me, said I was lying to make trouble. The old anger stirred. So I showed the evidence to her landlord and to her work, got him exposed to enough people that she couldn't deny it anymore. He left. I met Ryan's eyes. I didn't punch him, didn't get violent, just made him face consequences he couldn't charm his way out of. Understanding flickered across his face. So you already know how to ruin someone. I know how to make people see truth they'd rather ignore. I took a breath. Which is why I need you to be honest with me, Ryan. Because I can't read you the way I read everyone else. You're too good at control. Ask me anything, he said quietly. Right now, just us. I'll tell you the truth. Did you manipulate my bar into hiring me? Yes. I needed you somewhere I could watch you consistently. The honesty hurt more than I expected. Did you stop my eviction? Yes. You were going to move to a cheaper apartment in a worse neighborhood. I couldn't protect you there. Did you already know about Salvati when you kissed me at the bar? He hesitated. No, that was impulse, jealousy, possessiveness I shouldn't have acted on. His jaw tightened. But I knew Salvati had people watching my movements. I should have predicted he'd see it. So this is your fault. Yes. No excuse, no deflection. If I'd stayed away from you, you'd still be living your life. But I was selfish. And now you're here. I studied his face, the exhaustion, the control, the careful honesty he was offering like a gift he wasn't sure I'd accept. One more question, I said. Anything. If I said no right now, if I said take me somewhere far away and let me disappear, would you let me go? The silence stretched so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Yes, he finally said. I'd hate it. I'd make sure you were safe and provided for. But yes, I'd let you go. Why? Because keeping you against your will would make me exactly what I'm trying to protect you from. He reached up, cupped my face with both hands. You're not my prisoner, Maris. You're... What? I whispered. I don't have a word for it yet. His thumbs brushed my cheekbones. But it's not prisoner. My heart was hammering. I'm not going anywhere. No? No. I leaned into his hands. I'm tired of being invisible. Tired of being underestimated. Tired of watching people like Brennan smile and lie and get away with it because no one's paying attention. I met his eyes. So if you're offering me a role where my skills actually matter, where I'm seen and valued and dangerous, then yes, I'm in. Fully. His smile was slow, predatory, proud. Dangerous, you said. You make me dangerous, I corrected. You give me access and resources and protection. I just give you truth in return. Just truth. His voice dropped lower. You're underestimating yourself again. Then tell me what you think I give you. He studied me for a long moment. Purpose. Something worth protecting that isn't territory or money or pride. His hand slid from my face to my throat, not threatening, just present, claiming. You make me remember why I started building all of this in the first place. Why did you? Because I never wanted to be powerless again. His eyes locked on mine. And now I'm choosing to give you some of that power, which should terrify me, but instead it feels like the first real choice I've made in years. The weight of that confession made it hard to breathe. So what now? I asked. Now you get some sleep. Tomorrow we move you to my place, brief my key people, and make you publicly mine. His hands dropped. He stood, extended one hand to pull me up. And then we wait for Salvati to make his move so you can help me end him. I took his hand and let him pull me to my feet. How do we end him? With the same thing you used on Brennan. Truth. His smile was dark. Salvati operates on fear and reputation. If we expose him as weak, desperate, or incompetent, if we make his own people question him, he falls without me firing a shot. And you think I can help with that? I know you can, he tugged me closer. Because you see what people hide, Maris. And Salvati's been hiding a lot lately. Desperation, fear, the fact that his operation is hemorrhaging money and loyalty. How do you know that? Because I've been watching him the same way I watched you. His voice went soft. Except when I watched him, I was looking for weaknesses. When I watched you, I was looking for something else entirely. What? He leaned down, breath warm against my ear. Everything. Then he stepped back before I could respond, before the heat building between us could turn into something more. Sleep, he said. I'll be back at 9 to move you. He left before I could argue. I stood in the empty apartment and touched my throat where his hands had been, and tried to remember why I'd ever thought I could stay invisible. Moving into Ryan's penthouse felt like stepping into a different world. The security was intense. Biometric locks, guards on rotation, cameras everywhere except the bedroom and bathroom. My things from my apartment, what little I'd owned, were already unpacked and arranged like I'd lived here for months. How did you, while you were sleeping? Ryan gestured to the bedroom. Your textbooks are on the desk. Your schedule is synced to the tablet on the counter. Anything you need and don't see, ask. I walked through the space, touching things that were mine but didn't feel like mine in this context. This is surreal. You'll adjust. He checked his watch. We have a meeting in 2 hours. My senior people need to meet you officially. What do I say to them? Nothing. Just be yourself. He caught my chin, tilted my face up. They're going to test you, ask questions, probe for weakness. Don't let them intimidate you. You've earned your place here. Have I? You spotted Brennan when none of them did. That alone earned it. He released me. Now get ready. Wear something that makes you feel powerful. He left me to rifle through the clothes someone had packed. My jeans and hoodies mixed with new things that definitely weren't mine. I settled on black pants and a silk blouse that walked the line between professional and dangerous. When I emerged, Ryan's expression flickered with approval. Perfect. The meeting was in the same conference room where they'd discussed Brennan. 6 of Ryan's key people sat around the table. Victor, the gray-haired man from before, and 4 others whose names I struggled to track. This is Maris, Ryan said simply. She's with me now. Anything that affects me affects her. Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. The gray-haired man, someone said his name was Gianni, leaned back. With respect, sir, having her here makes us all targets. Having her here makes us smarter. Ryan's voice was flat. She reads people better than any of you. She spotted Brennan's betrayal in one dinner. She identified Amber as a plant when none of us noticed she was gone too long. She's an asset, not a liability. An asset who's never worked in this world, a woman said. Mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. How do we know she won't break under pressure? Because I won't. I kept my voice level, met her eyes. I've been managing drunk assholes and reading dangerous situations for 3 years in a bar. This is just a different kind of threat. It's not the same, she said. No, it's better. Because here, the threats follow rules. They're predictable. I glanced at Ryan. In a bar, anyone could snap at any moment for any reason. Here, there's strategy, pattern. That makes it easier, not harder. Silence. Then Gianni laughed, a rough surprise sound. She's got spine, I'll give her that. She's got more than spine. Ryan moved behind my chair, hands settling on the backrest. Not touching me, but close enough to make the claiming obvious. Which is why I want her in on strategy discussions going forward. She sees angles we miss. Including the angle where Salvati uses her to destroy you, Victor asked quietly. He'll try, Ryan's voice was certain. Which is why we need to move first. I want a full workup on Salvati's operation. Financials, personnel, supply lines, everything. Maris will review it and tell us what we're missing. I'm not I started. You're a behavioral psych major with 3 years of reading people under pressure. That's exactly what we need. He squeezed the chair back. Salvati's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. We just need to spot them. And then, I asked, Then we use those mistakes to end him. Ryan's voice went cold. Permanently, not with bodies, with exposure, legal trouble, lost alliances. We make him so toxic that his own people turn on him. That's a long play, the woman said. It's the right play. Ryan met each person's eyes in turn. We do this smart, we do this clean, and we use every advantage we have, including Maris. The meeting continued for another hour. Logistics, contingencies, security protocols. I stayed quiet mostly, watching dynamics and power plays. When it ended, Victor lingered. "A word, sir?" He glanced at me. "Privately. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of her." Ryan didn't move from beside me. Victor hesitated. "We have a problem, internal." "What kind?" "The leak isn't just Brennan. Someone inside gave him information to pass to Salvati." Victor's jaw was tight. "We have a mole." The words dropped like stones. "Who?" Ryan's voice was deadly quiet. "We don't know yet, but they have access to security schedules, meeting times, safe house locations." Victor met my eyes, including the brownstone location you were at last night. My blood went cold. "How many people knew about that location?" Ryan asked. 12, all senior level. "Start narrowing it?" Ryan's control was fracturing around the edges. I can help," I said suddenly. Both men looked at me. If you have a mole, they'll have patterns, behaviors, communications that don't match their stated routines. I stood. "Let me review your 12 people, their schedules, their communications, their usual patterns. I'll tell you who's lying." "It's not that simple," Victor said. "Isn't it?" I met Ryan's eyes. "You said I'm good at reading people. Let me prove it." For a long moment, he studied me. Then he nodded. "Victor, get her everything. Full access to personnel files, communications logs, security reports, everything." "Sir, that's everything." Ryan's voice left no room for argument. "She has my complete authority." Victor left, clearly unhappy. I turned to Ryan. "You're sure about this?" "No." He pulled me against him, sudden, possessive. "But I trust your instincts more than I trust my own right now. And if we have a mole, we need to find them before they sell you to Salvati the same way Brennan did." I pressed my face against his chest, breathing him in. "What if I'm wrong?" "Then we adjust, but you won't be." His arms tightened. "You're too good at seeing what people hide." I pulled back to look at him. "This is what you meant, isn't it? About making me essential to your world?" "Yes, no apology. I'm using your skills because they're valuable, but also because the more embedded you are, the more expensive it becomes for Salvati to move against you. That's calculated. Everything I do is calculated." His hand cupped my face. "Except when it comes to you. That part's pure instinct and terrible judgment." I almost smiled. "Terrible judgment. The worst. You're a student with a future and no criminal history. You should be nowhere near me." His thumb brushed my lower lip. "But I'm too selfish to let you go." The confession hung between us, raw and honest. "Good," I whispered, "because I'm not going anywhere." He kissed me then, not like in the bar, not rough and claiming. This was slower, deeper, full of promise and threat both. I kissed him back, threading my fingers through his hair, letting myself sink into the heat building between us. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "I have work to do," I said. "So do I." But he didn't let go. "Tonight, though, after you've reviewed the files and I've handled some things, tonight we talk about what happens next." "What does happen next?" His smile was dark, possessive. "That depends on how brave you're feeling." He left me with that promise hanging in the air. I spent the next 6 hours buried in files Victor reluctantly provided. 12 people, 12 sets of communications and schedules and patterns. I mapped their movements, their meeting times, their known associates. 3 names kept surfacing with inconsistencies, but one stood out. I found Ryan in his office at 8 p.m., poring over financials. "I think I know who it is," I said. He looked up sharply. "Show me." The mole's name was Daniel Reeves, mid-level security coordinator, 12 years with the organization, wife, 2 kids, mortgage in Oak Park, and a gambling problem nobody knew about. "Here," I spread the printouts across Ryan's desk. 3 months ago, his spending patterns changed. Cash withdrawals every Tuesday, always under $500, always from different ATMs. His phone pings near a casino in Hammond every Friday night, but he tells his wife he's working late. I pointed to another document, and look at the timing, every security breach, every leak. They all happened within 48 hours of his casino trips. Ryan studied the papers with cold precision. Salvati got to him through his debts, probably offered to clear them in exchange for information. I pulled up another file. And it worked. Reeves gave up the brownstone location the same night he lost $18,000 at blackjack. How sure are you? 90%, maybe higher. I met his eyes. His patterns are too consistent to be coincidence, and he's the only one of your 12 who has both the access and the desperate need for money. Ryan pulled out his phone. Victor, bring in Reeves. Quietly. I want him in the facility in Gary within the hour. He ended the call and looked at me. You just signed a man's future away. He signed his own when he sold you out. I kept my voice steady even though my hands wanted to shake. What happens now? Now he tells us everything he gave Salvati. Then I decide how much he's worth keeping alive. The casual way he said it made something cold settle in my chest. You said you don't kill. I don't, but I do make people wish I had. He stood, moved around the desk. You don't have to be there for this part. Yes, I do. I stood too. I put him there. I should see what that means. His expression flickered, something that might have been respect or concern. You're sure? No, but I'm going anyway. The facility in Gary was exactly as grim as I'd imagined. Industrial warehouse, isolated, the kind of place where screaming wouldn't carry. Victor and 2 others had Reeves in a chair in the center of an empty concrete room. He looked terrified. Mr. Calderon, Reeves's voice shook. I can explain. Don't. Ryan's voice was soft, deadly. Ms. Holt already explained for you. The gambling, the debts, the trips to Hammond. The question isn't whether you betrayed me. It's how much you told Salvati, and whether you're worth keeping breathing. Reeves's eyes found me. How did you? She's smarter than you, Ryan said simply. Now talk. Everything you gave Salvati. Every location, every schedule, every piece of information. Leave nothing out. What followed was 40 minutes of broken confessions, safe house addresses, security rotation times, meeting schedules, names of people in Ryan's network. Reeves spilled everything, crying, begging, promising it would never happen again. I watched his tells, the desperate eye contact, the trembling hands, the way his voice pitched higher when he lied and lower when he told truth. He was holding something back. He's lying about the timeline, I said quietly to Ryan. He started working with Salvati earlier than he's admitting. Ryan's eyes went cold. How much earlier, Daniel? I don't. How much earlier? 6 months. The words broke out of him. 6 months. I'm sorry, I needed. The debts were 3 months of data, 6 months of betrayal. How much had we missed before he got sloppy? 6 months. Ryan's control was fracturing. You've been selling me for 6 months, and I never saw it. I'm sorry, you're sorry, Ryan laughed. A terrible sound. You sold out the location that almost got Maris killed. You gave Salvati the information he needed to target her specifically. And you're sorry. I didn't know he'd. Ryan moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was standing still. The next his hand was wrapped around Reeves's throat. You didn't know. You sold information about an innocent woman to a man who traffics in violence, and you didn't know what he'd do with it? Ryan, I touched his arm. Let him talk. He released Reeves with visible effort, stepped back. Talk. Reeves gasped for air. Salvati, he wanted to know about anyone important to you, anyone he could use. When you started watching that bartender, I told him. When you moved her to the brownstone, I told him that too. He looked at me with genuine desperation, but I swear I didn't know he'd try to kill you. I thought he just wanted leverage for negotiations. And that makes it better. My voice was ice. I'm sorry. Stop saying that. I crouched in front of him. You're not sorry, you're scared. There's a difference. His mouth opened, closed. He had nothing to say to that. I stood and turned to Ryan. He's told you everything. What now? Ryan studied Reeves with cold assessment. Now we use him. Sir? Victor asked. Salvati thinks Reeves is his asset. We're going to let him keep thinking that. Ryan's voice was calculating. Reeves is going to feed Salvati exactly what we want him to know, starting with the information that Maris has found evidence of Salvati's operation that we're preparing to hand to federal authorities. I caught on immediately. You want to bait him into acting rashly. I want him panicked and sloppy. Ryan looked at Reeves. You're going to tell Salvati that we have documents, recordings, financial records, everything he needs to be terrified of. You're going to tell him we're moving the evidence tomorrow night from my office to a secure location. And you're going to give him the route we'll use. He'll ambush it, Victor said. Exactly. Ryan's smile was predatory. Except we won't be carrying evidence. We'll be carrying bait. And when he shows up with his people to take it, we'll have everything we need to dismantle him. Witnesses, recordings, proof of attempted robbery and assault. We hand it all to the right authorities, and Salvati goes down for crimes we can actually prosecute. I processed it. That's brilliant. That's necessary. He turned back to Reeves. You do this exactly as I say. You might survive. You deviate even slightly, you'll wish I'd killed you tonight. Understood? Reeves nodded frantically. Victor, get him out of here. Prep the operation for tomorrow. Ryan gestured to the door. Maris and I are leaving. We drove back to the city in silence. Ryan's hands were tight on the steering wheel, jaw clenched with residual anger. You okay? I asked finally. I trusted him for 12 years. His voice was flat. Let him near my home, my people, my operations. And he sold all of it for poker chips. You couldn't have known. I should have, he glanced at me. But you did. In less than 6 hours of reviewing files, you saw what I missed in 12 years. Because I was looking for patterns, not trustworthiness. I touched his arm. You can't read everyone, Ryan. Even you. I can't afford to miss things like this, not when it puts you at risk. The raw honesty in his voice made my chest tight. So what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow we end Salvati. He pulled up to the penthouse building, handed his keys to the valet. And after, you decide what comes next. What do you mean? He led me inside, into the private elevator. The doors closed, sealing us in. I mean, after tomorrow, Salvati's finished. You'll be safe, actually safe, not just protected. He stared at the floor numbers climbing. Which means you get to choose. Stay in my world or build the life you were supposed to have. What if I want both? His eyes snapped to mine. Both? I want to finish school, use my degree. I stepped closer. But I also want this. Using my skills on things that matter. Being seen, being valued. I paused. Being yours. Maris. You said you were selfish. So am I. I closed the distance between us. I don't want to go back to being invisible. I don't want to waste my mind on small things when I could be doing this. The elevator doors opened. He pulled me out, down the hallway, into the penthouse. The door locked behind us with finality. You're 23 years old, he said roughly. You should be worried about finals and finding a job and normal things. Not this. I've never been normal. I moved closer. And I don't want to be. You don't know what you're asking for. Don't I? I reached up, touched his face. I'm asking to stand beside someone who sees me, who values what I can do, who doesn't treat my intelligence like a threat or an inconvenience. My voice dropped. I'm asking for partnership, Ryan. Is that really so impossible? For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then his control shattered. He kissed me hard, possessive. All the restraint from earlier dissolving. I kissed him back with equal hunger, letting 3 months of watching and wanting and denying crash together. His hands found my waist, pulling me against him, mine threaded through his hair, holding him close. We broke apart, breathing hard. If you stay, he said roughly, there's no going back to normal. You'll be mine, publicly, undeniably. People will target you, use you, try to break you to get to me. I want them to know exactly what they're risking if they even look at you the wrong way, he said. Let them try. I met his eyes. I'm not afraid anymore. You should be. Maybe. But I'm choosing this anyway. I pulled him back down. I'm choosing you. This time when we kissed, it was slower, deeper, a promise and a claiming both. He walked me backward toward the bedroom, never breaking contact. We fell onto the bed together, and for the first time in 3 months, I let myself have what I'd been denying. Afterward, lying tangled together in the dark, his hand traced patterns on my spine. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "after Salvati's done, I'm giving you legitimate control of 3 of my venue properties. Training, management, hiring, all of it. You'll finish your degree and use it. Build something real." I lifted my head to look at him. "Why?" "Because I meant what I said. I'm not wasting your potential." His hand cupped my face. "You're going to be brilliant, Morris, with or without me, but if you'll let me, I want to watch you become it." Tears stung my eyes. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. His smile was soft, genuine. "Then you've had terrible boyfriends." "Just the one terrible mob boss." I kissed him gently. "But I'm keeping him." "Good," he pulled me closer. "Because I'm not letting you go." 3 months later, the grand opening of Calderone Venue's new staff training program was exactly the kind of event I'd never imagined myself running. 200 people, bartenders, servers, security staff, all here to learn what I'd been teaching myself for years: how to read people, prevent violence, and stay safe while doing it. I stood at the front of the room in professional clothes that were mine now, not borrowed, and felt fully, completely seen. Ryan watched from the back, arms crossed, that same intense focus he'd had the first night at the bar. But now when I met his eyes, he smiled. After, he found me in my office, the actual office with my name on the door. "You were perfect," he said. "I was adequate." I leaned against the desk. "But I'll get better." "You're already better than anyone I've ever worked with." He moved closer, pulled me against him. "I'm proud of you." The words settled warm in my chest. "Salvati's trial starts next week." "I know, you're not testifying." "I know." We'd agreed. My name stayed out of it. The evidence spoke for itself, and Reeves had turned state's witness to save his own skin. "Do you think it'll stick?" 15 federal charges. It'll stick. Ryan's arms tightened. "You helped do that. You found Reeves, you planned the trap, you made it possible. We did it together. Partnership," he murmured. "Like you wanted. Like we both wanted." I kissed him softly. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me, for making me dangerous." I smiled against his mouth. "For proving that choosing you wasn't choosing to disappear, it was choosing to finally be visible." His answering kiss was deep, possessive, full of promise. "You were always visible to me," he said. "I just had to make the rest of the world catch up." Outside the office windows, Chicago glittered. My city now. Our city. I'd come here invisible, a bartender, a student, someone people looked through. I was leaving as myself, seen, valued, dangerous, and exactly where I chose to be. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe so you don't miss the next Mafia love story. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what you thought of this narrator. Your feedback really helps me make these even better for you. Thank you for letting my stories keep you company. It truly means more than you know.